Hello folks, Scouts here. In my previous videos, I've covered why you should invest in One Piece card game and what I've invested in. Today, I'm going to walk you through how to do it. I aim to be as detailed as possible while keeping it concise, but if you want to know more, just drop a comment below and I'll be sure to get back to you. I also want to extend a massive thank you to everyone. We have just reached 100 subscribers after 2 weeks. This is my first ever YouTube venture, so your support truly means a lot to me. Thank you to all of you for subscribing. And hey, if you took my advice from last week about grabbing all the Nami and Law Pre-Errata OP01 cards after the ban, congratulations, you have made a minimum of 100% return in just 1 week. In the video, I mentioned any price below $300 was a steal, but prices peaked at just $250, so your profits should be even sweeter. I know some folks who got in at $150, and that's awesome. Be greedy when others are fearful, remember? So now, in the past 2 weeks, I've received quite a few comments asking about specifics in the OPCG investments, and I think it's time to respond with a detailed breakdown and guide. Before we go into the specifics of what to invest in, remember that your entry price is critical. Always negotiate for a reasonable price to maximize your potential gains. Let's start with the topic of English versus Japanese in OPCG. English versions tend to be more desirable due to their readability and broader international appeal. Over the past 10 months, the English market has shown way stronger performance and the liquidity has been much higher, with a large number of transactions observed across all platforms. The demand for English cards is high, and the supply struggles to keep up due to distribution and logistical issues. Japanese cards, while also in demand, they have way higher supply in comparison, driving down the value. Asians are generally more familiar with the One Piece franchise, hence they usually have higher confidence in the merchandise, causing huge pre-orders from shops. I used to hold some Japanese manga cards, but they were always on a downtrend, so I ended up getting rid of them. While many Japanese tournament cards command a higher price than its English counterparts, remember that a higher price doesn't necessarily mean a higher growth potential. Generally, for investment purposes, at least at this point in time, English cards are the way to go. Now, let's talk about products. First off are the sealed boxes. Sealed boxes are at the top of the investment pyramid due to their high liquidity and potential for appreciation. Compared to all other products, sealed products offer the highest risk-reward ratio. OP01, particularly the first wave with its pre-errata cards, and OP05, which contains the amazing Ichiro Oda signed card and the 3 manga cards, are the ones you want to get your hands on. At this point of time, if you are able to find a pre-order for OP05 right now, that should be your best bet. Otherwise, you can consider other booster boxes like OP02, OP03, and OP04. Personally, I would pick OP03 and OP04 over OP02 simply because they are cheaper and the manga character is still alive and kicking. The only reason I am not heavily invested in sealed boxes is because I am an expat working in a foreign country. I don't have much space at home and I move around frequently, so I can't afford to carry tons of sealed boxes with me. Most of you are not going to have this issue, so I strongly recommend you to start with sealed boxes. Next, we have singles and promo cards. I see many people confuse collecting with investing, where they collect one of each card and then they call it an investment. Investing in singles is pretty similar to investing in individual stocks in the financial market. And try to imagine buying one of every stock in the market. You are guaranteed to not make any good profit for yourself. The best thing about singles is that you don't have to purchase the entire box. You are not just gambling, and you spend minimal amount to get that one card that you think has potential. The only issue is that in order to be successful in this, you need market knowledge and you need to understand the supply and demand for specific cards. Also, singles generally can take longer to sell compared to sealed products. Here, as mentioned, you should target limited cards that have higher demand than supply. For example, OP01 pre-errata cards like Nami AA, Leader Luffy, Law, and Kaido. This will continue to shoot up, and what you have seen in the past 2 months is just the beginning. Next we have Serial Luffy. I have talked about this one numerous times back then when it was 4,000 bucks, and I just found out yesterday that this has shot up to 5,000 bucks just this week, and it's based on card market. I think last week 4 to 5 of these cards were bought at 4,000, and this week all the cards lower than 5,000 bucks were bought. I'm quite sure this won't stop there. I'll also mention here that the Serial Shanks also has huge potential given the serialized and the limited supply of only 1,000 copies. That is, if you're able to get one for under 3,000 bucks. Super pre-release decks, leader cards, and Winner Luffy. This is going to be very interesting. You might have noticed the prices of these cards starting to shoot up this week, but you have no idea why. The main reason is that the black label version of the super pre-release leader Luffy, which was previously sold at 1,000 bucks, was sold at a whopping 8,500 bucks last week. This has caused a bunch of people to realize the potential of the super pre-release series and starting to buy them in the market now. Don't forget about some Japanese cards like the top 16 championship Zoro, which is extremely rare, the flagship Zoro, which you can get right now for probably around 500 bucks, and just so you know, the English counterpart for the flagship Zoro is currently selling at 3,000 bucks right now. So getting the Japanese version is a steal. Other cards worth mentioning are the Lekafik Luffy, which comes together with a pretty figurine. This is essentially the leader card from ST01 deck, but with gold print instead. Pretty cool. There is also this Sabo card Japanese version, which is won from tournaments. This is extremely rare and most people don't even know about it. This list is never ending, so it is not possible for me to list them all here. So you will need to make your own judgment. Just follow the law of supply and demand and you should be alright. Lastly, we have the graded cards. For graded cards, you should ideally go for the higher graded ones like PSA 10 or BGS 10, as these tend to maintain or increase in value over time. The ranking should go like BGS Black Label, BGS 10, PSA 10, BGS 9.5 and so on. These are highly desirable and there is a huge market for graded cards, especially those with top scores. I invest in graded cards myself, and my thought is that while these things have incredible potential, it has the lowest liquidity value out of all products, as in these slabs can be really difficult to sell, or you would have to sell at a significant discount if you need cash quick. Make sure you are fully aware of the risks before getting into graded cards. In terms of grading, I personally don't recommend you to grade cards unless you have good eyes or you are willing to spend time, money and effort going through all the process to learn how to inspect cards. The reason I'm saying this is because in my own experience for One Piece card game, if you don't grade a 10, you would have lost money due to high grading costs. Remember that grading costs add up and they are definitely not cheap at all. And most of the time it is actually cheaper to just buy a graded slab outright. If you insist that you want to have your cards graded, be very selective with the cards you send for grading. Only grade either the high value ones or the ones you are absolutely confident will score a 10. OPCG cards generally have pretty good quality when compared to Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh, so I would prefer to grade with BGS over PSA, since BGS is going to fetch a better value. I am not familiar with CGC or other grading services, so I cannot comment on those. When considering an investment in graded cards, it is important to evaluate a few key factors. Start with the card's population report for the specific grade you are targeting. The lower, the better. Secondly, do you think this number is likely to grow? And if so, by how much? A low population can be indicative of two very different scenarios. It could either mean the card is rare due to lower print runs or challenging to grade at high levels, which is very good for value, or it could suggest that there is simply not enough interest in the card and no one bothered submitting for grading. So this distinction is critical. Rarity due to quality is a promising sign for an investor, whereas a lack of demand can signal a very poor investment choice. So assess this aspect carefully to ensure you're making a well-informed decision. The graded card scene in OPCG is heating up right now as well, just like the sealed boxes and the singles. As mentioned earlier, a BGS Black Label Super Pre-Release Luffy card was transacted last week at $8,500. Note that the raw ungraded version costs only $80. This shows that people are willing to spend more than 100 times the raw price just to get a Black Label version. Anyway, I think that's it from me today. Just remember, all investments carry risk, so always do your own research and never invest more than you can afford to lose. Thank you for watching, and whether you agree or disagree with my views, let's discuss in the comments. Hit that subscribe button to stay updated, and check out strawhatloose.com for great deals on OPCG products. Until next time, happy investing.